There's a corner of your basement right now where no spider will go. You've probably never noticed it. Most people don't. But somewhere down there, in the dampest, darkest part of the house, where every survival instinct tells a spider it should thrive, there's a spot they refuse to cross. And the reason has nothing to do with how clean you keep things, nothing to do with the spray you bought at the hardware store, and nothing to do with the exterminator who charges you $120 every quarter to walk through your home with a tank on his back. The reason is a $3 item that's probably already sitting in your cupboard. And by the end of this, you're going to understand why the people who sell you everything else have a very good reason for never mentioning it. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what I started noticing after 20 years of talking to old farmers, country folks, and the kind of people who never had money to waste on chemicals and so figured things out the hard way. There's a pattern. The people who never have spider problems aren't the people spending the most money. They're often the ones spending almost nothing. And once you see why, you can't unsee it. So let me ask you something first. Why is it that you can spray your baseboards, vacuum every web, seal up your windows, and still find a spider in your bathtub 3 days later? You did everything right. You followed every instruction on the can, and it didn't work. That's not your fault, and it's not bad luck. It's because almost everything you've been told about keeping spiders away is aimed at the wrong target. Here's the truth, that the pest control industry would prefer stayed quiet. Spiders don't come into your house looking for you, and they don't come looking for moisture, and they don't even come looking for shelter. Not first. They come looking for one thing above all else: food. And the food, in this case, is other insects. The gnats, the moths, the little flies that drift in through a torn screen, the ants tracking along your windowsill. A house with no insects is a house with no spiders, because a spider in an empty house is a spider that starves. So when you spray poison along your baseboards, you're attacking the spider directly while leaving the entire reason it showed up completely untouched. You're treating the symptom and feeding the disease. Now think about every product marketed to you. The sprays, the foggers, the plug-in devices, the quarterly service contract. Almost every one of them is built around killing the spider you can see. None of them are built around the thing that actually controls whether spiders want to be in your home in the first place. And that's not an accident. A spider you can kill is a spider you'll pay to kill again next month. A house spiders simply don't want to enter, doesn't generate any repeat business at all. You can decide for yourself which one is more profitable. So let's talk about what actually works. And I want to be honest with you, because the first time I heard this, I rolled my eyes too. The item is peppermint oil, plain peppermint essential oil. $3, maybe $4, for a small bottle that will last you the better part of a year. And I know how that sounds. It sounds like one of those home remedies your aunt swears by that never does a thing. But stay with me, because this one is different, and the reason it's different is rooted in something most people have never been told about how a spider actually experiences the world. A spider does not smell the way you and I smell. A spider tastes and smells through its legs. Those fine hairs covering a spider's legs, the ones that make your skin crawl just looking at them, are not just for feeling. They are chemical sensors. A spider walks across a surface and effectively tastes it with every step. This is established arachnology, studied for decades. Their feet are covered in chemosensory organs that detect compounds in their environment, with a sensitivity that makes our own noses look crude by comparison. Now here's why that matters. Peppermint oil is loaded with a compound called menthol, and menthol is what scientists call a strongly volatile monoterpene. To a spider walking across a surface treated with it, that compound isn't a pleasant holiday scent. It's an overwhelming chemical assault delivered directly through the organs it uses to navigate and hunt. Imagine walking into a room and the floor itself was burning the soles of your feet with every step. You wouldn't investigate that room. You wouldn't set up a home there. You would leave, and you would not come back. That is roughly the spider's experience of a peppermint-treated threshold. And this isn't just country wisdom. In 2018, researchers studying spider repellents put peppermint oil to an actual test against several common house spider species. The spiders avoided the peppermint-treated areas at a dramatically higher rate than untreated control surfaces. A separate body of research on essential oils and arthropods has repeatedly confirmed that menthol and similar monoterpenes disrupt the chemoreceptors these creatures depend on. The old farmers who rubbed mint around their doorframes 100 years ago didn't have the science, but they had the result. And the result was a porch with no webs. Let me tell you where this knowledge actually comes from, because it's older than any laboratory. Go back generations, to the farmhouses of Appalachia and the Midwest, before anyone could drive to a store and buy a can of poison. Those families planted mint by their foundations and along their doorsteps. They thought it was for tea, for cooking, for keeping the kitchen smelling fresh. But the wives and grandmothers noticed something else. The doorways lined with mint stayed clear. The cellars where they hung bundles of dried mint had fewer pests. They passed it down not as science, but as habit, as the way things were done. And somewhere in the rush toward modern chemistry, we threw that knowledge out and replaced it with a monthly bill. Now I have to warn you, because this is exactly where most people go wrong, and if you get this part wrong, you'll decide the whole thing is a hoax and give up. The mistake people make is they take that little bottle of peppermint oil, they put a few drops on a cotton ball, they toss it in a corner, and they wait. And 3 days later, the smell is gone, the spider is back, and they declare the whole thing useless. I've watched people do this and walk away convinced it's a myth. Here's what they got wrong. A few drops of pure oil on a cotton ball evaporates within a day, sometimes within hours, especially in a dry or warm room. You haven't created a barrier. You've created a brief, fading suggestion. The oil has to be applied as a proper solution, in the right concentration, in the right places, and refreshed on a schedule, or it does almost nothing. The remedy works. The application is where people fail. So here is exactly how it's actually done, the way that produces results you can see. You take a clean spray bottle, the kind you can buy for $1. You fill it with water, but you add one thing most people leave out. And this is the first hidden detail that separates the people who get results from the people who don't. You add a small amount of liquid dish soap, just a few drops into the bottle. Oil and water do not mix. Without the soap, your peppermint oil floats on top in a slick, and you end up spraying plain water with a useless film riding on the surface. The dish soap acts as an emulsifier. It breaks the oil into tiny droplets and binds them into the water, so that every spray actually carries the peppermint evenly. Skip this, and half your effort is wasted, and you'll never understand why your results are so inconsistent. Into that bottle of water and soap, you add your peppermint oil. The concentration matters. Too weak, and the spiders shrug it off. The research and the practical experience point to a solution of roughly 5% oil, which works out to around 15 to 20 drops of oil per ounce of water, or a couple of teaspoons of oil in a standard 16-ounce bottle. Shake it hard every single time before you spray, because even with soap, the oil will start to separate as it sits. Then you spray where it counts, and this is the second place people go wrong. They spray out in the open, in the middle of the floor, on the surfaces they look at every day. But a spider doesn't travel across the open middle of a room. A spider is an edge dweller. It moves along the seams of your home, where the wall meets the floor, the corners, the door frames, the window tracks, the gaps where a pipe comes through, the underside of furniture, the dark line behind the toilet. Those edges are the spider's highways. Treat the highways, not the open field. Spray the baseboards, the corners, the thresholds of every door, the frames of every window, the vents, the cracks. You're not trying to coat your house. You're trying to draw a line the spider cannot bear to cross. And then you refresh it, roughly once a week, more often in the spots with airflow that carry the scent away faster. That's the rhythm. That's the whole discipline of it. A weekly walk around the edges of your home with a $3 bottle, and the webs stop appearing. But I told you at the start there was a second secret, the factor that almost everyone ignores. And this is the part that turns a decent result into a spider-free home. Because here's the hard truth. You can spray peppermint along every edge in your house, and if you ignore this one thing, the spiders will keep finding reasons to come back. And it goes right back to where we started. Remember what a spider actually wants. Not shelter. Food. And the single greatest source of spider food in the average American home is something almost nobody connects to their spider problem. It's your lights. Specifically the lights near your doors and windows at night. Every porch light, every bright window, every lamp glowing near a screen is a beacon that pulls in moths, gnats, midges, and a dozen other flying insects from the entire surrounding area. Those insects gather at your home's openings by the hundreds over the course of an evening. And where the insects gather, the spiders follow, because you have, without realizing it, set up an all-you-can-eat buffet right at your threshold, and then wondered why predators keep showing up to eat. Here's the detail almost no one knows. It's not just that the light attracts bugs, it's the color of the light. Standard white and bluish LED and fluorescent bulbs throw out a lot of short wavelength light, the blues and the ultraviolet edge. And that is precisely the part of the spectrum that insects are most powerfully drawn to. Their eyes are tuned to it. Swap that bulb for a warm yellow-tone bulb, the kind sometimes sold as a bug light, and you cut the insect attraction dramatically, because you've removed the wavelengths they're chasing. The bugs can barely see the yellow light. Fewer bugs at your door means less food. Less food means the spiders have no reason to set up shop. You've cut their supply line. So now put the two together, because individually they're helpful, but combined they're something else entirely. Peppermint makes the edges of your home unbearable to cross. The light change starves out the food supply that draws insects to those edges in the first place. One is the wall, the other is the siege. The spider arrives at a doorway that tastes like poison to its feet and finds nothing to eat even if it pushes through. There is simply no reason for it to be there, and so it isn't. That's the complete system, and it's the part the people selling you single-product solutions will never assemble for you. Because a system that works permanently is a system you only have to build once. And here's where it gets almost absurd, because let's talk about what this costs against what you've been paying. A professional pest control contract in this country runs most families somewhere between $40 and $70 a month, often more, which lands you in the neighborhood of $500 to $800 a year, every year, for as long as you live in that house. The store-bought sprays run $8 to $15 a can and empty faster than you'd think, and you're buying them again and again. The plug-in ultrasonic devices, the ones that promise to drive pests away with sound, sell for $20 to $40 each, and study after study has found they do essentially nothing to spiders. You bought silence and called it a solution. Now look at the other side of the ledger. A bottle of peppermint oil, $3 to $5, lasting most of a year. A spray bottle, $1. Dish soap you already own. 2 warm-toned bug bulbs, somewhere around $6 to $10 for the pair, and they last for years. Call it $15 to $20 to build the entire system, and a few dollars a year to maintain it. Set that against $800 a year, every year, for a service that targets the wrong thing in the first place. Over 10 years in a home, that's the difference between maybe $100 and the better part of $8,000. For a result that's often better, because you finally address the cause instead of chasing the symptom around your baseboards with a can. Let me say plainly what this all adds up to, because I don't want you to miss it. You were never losing the war against spiders because you weren't spending enough. You were losing because everything you were sold pointed you at the spider on the wall and away from the two things that actually decide whether spiders want to live with you at all. What's on the edges and what's in the air at your doorway at night. Fix those two things and the spider in the bathtub stops being a monthly event and becomes a memory. The old farmers knew a version of this without the words for it. They lined their doors with mint, and they kept their lamps low and dim, and they lived alongside far fewer crawling things than we do in our bright, sealed, chemically sprayed modern homes. We didn't get smarter, we got sold to, and somewhere in that exchange we traded a $3 answer for an $800 problem and never stopped to ask why. So here's what I'd ask you to do tonight, and it costs you almost nothing. Walk down to that basement, or that garage, or whatever corner of your home the spiders love most. Look at the edges, really look, the seams and the corners and the door frames. And then look at the light burning near your nearest door. You're about to see your home the way a spider sees it, maybe for the first time. And once you can see it their way, you'll never be at the mercy of it again. If this opened your eyes to something nobody ever told you, stay with me, because the things hiding in plain sight in the average American home go a great deal deeper than spiders, and I've got more of them to show you. The people who profit from your problems are counting on you never finding out. Let's keep proving them wrong.